161, great to make the hook up there, man. Yeah, man, J. Juliet Alpha Yankee was my name for your further information.
Hi, this is cbradiomagazine.com, and we're looking at the Cobra 138XLR. That's the mobile radio I did my last video on. Very popular radio from 1977, 78. This was one of the first 40 channels from Cobra. And I did the video, and then I was on Facebook, and I saw this. A Cobra 139XLR for sale. And I figured, heck, I just did the video on the 138. I might as well finish out the duo and do the 139XLR. This was the base station radio equivalent of the 138XLR. Now this is 40 years old, and the meter lights are working, the meters work, the LEDs are still working. One of them has a little bit of a flicker. The surface here on the front looks fantastic. I'll zoom in a little bit. Got a couple little dents and chips and a little bit of fading up top there, but let's zoom in and I'll kind of walk you through this radio. And here we go. This is the Dynamic microphone gain. On-off volume control for the radio here. That's how you switch it on. Squelch here. RF gain, SWR calibration. RF gain's on the inside, SWR's on the outside. Voice lock, which is clarifier. And this is actually normally locked from the factory. This one's been modified, so it does have an unlock clarifier, meaning that when you adjust this, you're actually adjusting the transmit and receive at the same time together. That's what that means. The mode, AM, upper sideband, lower sideband, switch. And over here we've got your off ANL, noise blank ANL, and CB PA function. I mean, I don't really know who would be using this as a PA, but never know. SWR, SWR calibration, and RF mod. And these are all for your meter up here, which I'll show you in just a second. There is our channel selector. You can see the LEDs there. That's our SWR modulation meter, and then over here we've got an SRF power meter. So this would show your output power and the receive of stations coming in. Now, I'll just show you guys real quick. Maybe someone doesn't know about this, but for SWR calibration, what you want to do is you want to set it to that middle position, and then over here on the SWR calibration, what you do is you put on AM, and then you key up, and you try and adjust this SWR until it's over here on that cal. There'll be a cal mark, or it'll say cal and there'll be a mark on some radios. And then what you do is once you get that set, you switch this up here to SWR, and then it'll show your SWR on the meter. And we have a very good SWR, so you'll see that there's very little reading there. If you flip the switch down to modulation, RF modulation here, and then you key up, audio, audio, audio. You'll see the modulation is shown there on the meter, and over here it shows us audio. It shows us our output and just a little bit of forward swing on this radio because it's actually been set to stock. Now, these have a front firing speaker on it. The speaker is in here. Microphone connector is down here on the front. I'll show you guys this. I just have a stock Cobra microphone on here. It's 4-pin down here, so a lot of people would use D104s, Turner Plus 3s, those types of things on these. You don't actually really need a power mic on a lot of these radios. I've been running that 138 testing over the last couple of weeks, and with a stock microphone, people have said it just screams, very loud. Same thing with these ones. A lot of people didn't run power mics with them. You don't need to necessarily, and if you overdrive it, you can sound a little crunchy. Okay, back of the Cobra 139XLR. PA speaker, external speaker. You'll see the little Japan tag down there, made in Japan. Production number, serial number, the FCC certificate on there, and your antenna connector, your DC power, so you can run it with DC power. If the power supply ever dies in one of these, that's one of the cool things about them. You can just plug in a standard cord and run it off DC power. Over here is our fuse and our power cord coming out of it. Now, if you ever do have one of these that doesn't fire up, check that fuse right away. That's a good place to start for troubleshooting. I'll show you guys one other cool thing here, if I can get zoomed in right. Just the condition of this radio is really nice. It has, you know, a little bit of wear up here. You know, you can see there's a little bit of wear on the top metal here where the paint is wearing off, but this one actually has the rubber stripping around the outside here, this rubber trim, which, God, I haven't seen that on a radio forever. So good condition. It's fun to see, you know, these still kicking and someone's taking good care of it. Maybe it sat in somebody's closet for a number of years. Okay, to take off the case off this radio, there's 2 screws in the back that you have to undo. There's 2 screws in the front you need to undo. And then there's a screw on either side of the paneling. And then once you get that all done, the case cover will just slide off. A lot easier than a mobile, no speakers or anything to worry about. And then you can see inside the radio. Let me get this set up and we can walk through the board quickly. Looking down here, you'll see the same 858 unit and 858 chip in here, which offers you the ability to add extra frequencies to this, just like I had on that Cobra 138XLR. And the board in here is going to be basically identical to the Cobra 138XLR. So they're using the same stuff in these, just the base version. They took the board, plopped it in this nice looking case, and then they added a power supply in the back there. Modulation is up towards, I guess it would be the right side of the radio. If you turn it sideways the way I have it, let me give you orientation here. So here's the channel selector over here. I have it turned sideways. This is actually the front of the board. I'm thinking of this more like a mobile. And over in this right hand front corner, you'll see VR7 right here. And that would be adjust your AM modulation. Okay, next thing I'll show you guys is single sideband ALC control. And again, this is the layout of the board. It's towards the back of the board. And if you look this way, we'll zoom a little faster here. The relay is right there. And right in front of the relay is CT7. And it's one of those screw looking type, almost looks like a flathead screw in there. That's the adjustment for your ALC. And lastly, I'll show you guys the AM power. AM power to set your AM carrier on this is VR8. It's actually on the back side of the relay over here. You'll see it right there. That is VR8. That's to set if you want, 2 watts or 4 watts on your carrier. And again, you can kind of get the reference of where it is on the radio from looking zoomed out here. This is the front of the radio. I think of this as a mobile board. Front of the board's here, and it's back over here near the relay. The 139XLR service manual is a little tough to find, but luckily these were boards that were used from Uniden in a lot of different radios. The Realistic TRC 457 used this same board. A couple of things are slightly different. Basically, everything will be the same for adjustments, so that would be a good one to use. Okay, for output on this radio, it's basically set up kind of factory stock at this point. Using a stock microphone. I'll turn up the microphone gain all the way, and this is on AM, and just under a 4 watt dead key. Audio, just over 10 watts on AM. And I'm using my external meter here. Just this is what you guys are seeing, but I'm over there looking at the external meter. On lower sideband, audio, just over 10 watts, so on sideband there. So yeah, that's basically not doing a huge amount of wattage, and this is exactly how I'd run a 40-year-old radio. I would not try and peak it or trying to get 16, 18 watts out of it. It's just not worth it. Don't try and get every last watt out of a 40-year-old radio. So that's the way I'd run these old ones, and yeah, not terrible, and audio so far reports with stock mic have been really good. All right, we'll wrap up the video now. Just a couple little tips on these. If you're looking for a Cobra 139XLR, be aware there was a Cobra 139 before this, and it was a 23 channel radio, base radio. Looks kind of similar. It'll have a rotary dial over here that it doesn't have a digital display, and it'll say Cobra 139, but it does not say XLR. So be careful. if you're looking to get an XLR and you go on eBay and you see, oh, 139, you know, and pull the trigger on a $150 radio, and then you'll be disappointed to find out it's not the XLR, not a 40 channel. So be aware of that. This was again made 77, 78, 138, 139 XLR. There were some other XLR radios out there. There was the 132 XLR, which is a mobile 40 channel single sideband, and the 135 XLR single sideband 40 channel rare radios. Those ones are actually, I haven't even seen one in years. So there probably aren't too many of those around. I've seen a couple of these, you know, around in the last 20 years, but the 135 XLR, pretty rare to find one of those. The GTL models, 1979, the GTL models came in, the 142 GTL, 140 GTL, and you know, after that, these ones were done. And it's just a couple of years of production, but you know, Uniden made radio, very cool. It says Uniden on the power supply, Uniden chip, made in Japan, and that's what kind of makes these interesting, is a Cobra made by Uniden. So anyway, cbradiomagazine.com. Check out the website. We actually just updated to WordPress the other day. Took a lot of work to get everything moved over, but should be more responsive if you're reading stuff on your phone or you're looking up things. And we're still trying to get some of the bugs worked out for our old magazines, but hopefully we'll get it all moved over soon. cbradiomagazine.com. Hope you guys had a great 4th. Take care.